Have you ever felt a deep, aching silence creep in as the years go by, an emptiness that seems impossible to fill? Do you feel like the relationships that once defined your life are fading, leaving you with a sense of solitude and uncertainty about the future? You're not alone. As we age, loneliness, changing relationships, and shifts in our bodies and roles can make us question our place in the world. But what if I told you that this silence, this solitude, can actually be a gift? A space that allows for personal growth, self-reflection, and a deeper connection with who you truly are. In today's video, I'm going to challenge the way you view loneliness and aging, and show you how to embrace these phases of life with courage and wisdom. By the end, you'll discover how to find peace in solitude, redefine your relationships, and learn to live with purpose, even as your body and roles change. The first truth you must face is that loneliness in old age isn't a sentence. It's a choice, and with the right mindset, it can become the most liberating time of your life. Stay with me until the end, because we'll dive into the incredible opportunity for self-renewal that this season of life offers. You'll learn how to face loneliness not as a curse, but as a doorway to deep inner peace. You'll find out why relationships, while sometimes painful, can evolve into something more meaningful. And you'll understand that time, though limited, can become your most precious resource for living authentically and with joy. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. The first truth that few are brave enough to confront, yet it lies inescapably before us, is that loneliness in old age is not an inescapable sentence, but rather a profoundly personal choice that reveals the deepest freedom within us. As the years slip by with the stealth of time, many find themselves surrounded by an oppressive silence, one that feels not just still but almost deafening. This quiet might come because children have moved away to forge their own lives, friends have drifted apart, or the patterns of life have changed so dramatically that the gatherings that once filled the house with laughter and warmth have long since stopped. For some, it may simply be the passage of time itself that ushers in a solitude that seems overwhelming. This silence, once so comforting and peaceful, can gradually turn into an empty, hollow space where memories and unspoken regrets echo. But if we summon the courage to face loneliness head-on, without the rush to avoid or escape it, we can begin to see it in an entirely different light. Loneliness is not simply a void to be feared. It is, in fact, a rare opportunity to engage in profound self-reflection and self-discovery, an opportunity that only this phase of life can offer. The absence of external distractions that once dictated the rhythm of our days opens up an untouched space for the soul to breathe. It is in this space of stillness that the real work of self-exploration begins. In youth and adulthood, we were often too busy, too preoccupied with external demands, with the expectations of others, with chasing after accomplishments or filling our lives with noise to notice the whispers of our own hearts. But in the golden years, when the world around us begins to fade into the background, we are finally given the chance to look inward, to rediscover who we are and who we have always been beneath the layers of time, roles, and obligations. At first, this silence can feel unsettling, perhaps even terrifying. It is human nature to crave connection, to seek validation through the presence of others. Society teaches us to believe that our worth is tied to relationships, to what others think of us, and to the approval of the world. We build our lives around these connections, making emotional dependencies the foundation of our identities. When that foundation begins to crack, when friends and family scatter, when the world no longer demands our attention, the solitude can feel like abandonment, an agonizing loneliness that threatens to engulf us. Yet, if we can hold steady in this new reality, if we can resist the urge to flee from it, we will see that within this loneliness is an unparalleled opportunity for growth, healing, and transformation. It is in the quiet, when the world retreats, that we can finally begin to connect with ourselves on the deepest level. Loneliness in old age is not a punishment, but a sacred space, one that invites us to shed the expectations of others, to let go of the need for external validation, and to learn to find peace in our own company. It is in this space that we can begin to recognize our own inherent worth, independent of anyone else's approval. For the first time, we can learn to truly love ourselves, unconditionally, without reservation. Far from being a void, loneliness offers a fertile ground for self-renewal. It is a time to rediscover long-forgotten passions, to dive into hobbies and interests that were once abandoned in the hustle of life, or to explore entirely new avenues of creativity and joy. What once felt like emptiness now becomes a canvas, waiting for us to paint it with the colors of our newfound freedom. Every minute spent alone is an invitation to rediscover old joys, to connect with something deeper within us, and to find satisfaction not in the presence of others, but in the essence of our own being. Loneliness becomes not a void to be filled, but a sacred space where the soul can finally breathe freely and come to know itself in ways never possible before. However, this newfound freedom doesn't come easily. It requires profound courage, the courage to face the discomfort, the vulnerability, and the unknown. It demands that we let go of old patterns and beliefs, and that we trust ourselves to walk a path that is less defined, less familiar. The journey into solitude asks us to look inward, to confront the parts of ourselves that we have long neglected or hidden away. It is a process of unlearning all the ways we once relied on others for approval, for worth, for validation. But when we embrace this solitary path, we begin to see the beauty that comes from independence, the incredible strength that lies in knowing we are enough, just as we are. We begin to recognize that we are worthy of love and joy, not because of the roles we play or the people we surround ourselves with, but because we exist. For those who dare to face loneliness with open hearts, they discover something profound: freedom. The freedom to make choices that are entirely their own, free from the influence of external opinions or expectations. The freedom to live according to their own desires and rhythms, to pursue passions without apology, to define what brings them meaning without seeking permission. This is the ultimate gift that loneliness in old age offers, a gift that not only fosters personal growth, but also creates a deeper connection with the world around us. It is a kind of liberation that can only be achieved when we embrace the solitude, lean into it, and discover the untapped well of strength and wisdom that resides within. In the end, loneliness is not a curse but a blessing in disguise. It is not the absence of others, but the presence of the most important relationship we will ever have, the one with ourselves. Embracing this truth requires an open heart, a willingness to dive deep into the unknown, and a deep trust in our ability to not only survive but thrive in solitude. And for those who choose to embrace this phase of life, it reveals a peace and contentment that transcends anything they could have found in the hustle and bustle of the world. It is a peace that flows from within, rooted in self-love, acceptance, and a profound understanding that we are enough, just as we are. This peace is not fleeting, nor is it dependent on the circumstances of life. It is enduring, a constant companion that grows with us, deepening as we learn to embrace our imperfections, our joys, and our sorrows. Loneliness, when embraced fully, becomes a pathway to a new way of living, a way that celebrates the quiet, the stillness, and the profound beauty that exists in simply being. It is a journey that leads us to a place of deep, unshakable peace, a peace that may be unfamiliar at first, but once found, is a peace that we can carry with us always. The second truth that many resist confronting, yet it looms inevitable with the passage of time, is that relationships, especially in old age, can shift and evolve in ways that are often unexpected, even painful. The circle of people that once felt unbreakable, the friends and family members who seemed like permanent fixtures in your life, can slowly dissolve over the years, leaving behind an unsettling emptiness. The connections that once felt so solid and indispensable may fade into the distance, revealing just how fragile and transient human bonds can be. Some relationships, no matter how cherished, are fleeting, their duration often dictated more by circumstance than by true affinity. It's a painful truth, one that shakes the foundation of our understanding of love and friendship. This realization can be especially difficult to accept because, for many, the bonds formed over decades feel as though they should be eternal, immune to the passage of time. We imagine that the people we've shared our lives with will always remain by our side. But with age comes the quiet understanding that life doesn't follow a straight path. People change, their priorities shift, and life's unpredictable contingencies often lead to separations that are beyond our control. Some relationships, despite their significance in the past, simply cannot withstand the test of time, whether due to personal choices, geographical distance, or the natural course of events. This distancing, though undeniably bitter and heartbreaking, offers a profound opportunity to reassess the true value of the relationships that remain. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. In old age, the focus shifts from the quantity of relationships to the quality of the connections we maintain. The vast network of acquaintances that once filled our social calendars becomes less important, and we begin to understand that it is the depth of the bonds we share that truly matters. It's in this stage of life that we come to cherish the friendships that endure, the ones that weather the storms, evolve through the years, and grow stronger over time. These deep, loyal friendships are the true treasures, gems that, with their wisdom, compassion, and unwavering support, become more precious than any number of fleeting acquaintances. And yet, there is also the painful but necessary realization that some relationships are meant to end. There comes a time when we must let go of connections that no longer serve us, that no longer offer mutual growth or reciprocity. For the elderly, this process of refining relationships becomes an act of self-liberation. With heightened awareness and emotional clarity, they come to understand that the silence they may feel is often not the product of loneliness, but rather a conscious choice to spend time only with those who truly matter. They recognize that it is not the number of people in their lives that brings fulfillment, but the authenticity of those who remain. The relationships that stand the test of time are the ones that reflect who we truly are, those rare connections where we are seen and valued for our true selves, flaws, complexities, and all. This conscious pruning of relationships is an act of self-respect and a deep expression of personal truth. This realization shifts the way one experiences the company of others. Rather than clinging to outdated, obligatory contacts that have long since lost their essence, the elderly person begins to gravitate toward a smaller circle of genuine companions, those whose presence is uplifting, who offer unwavering support, and whose understanding feels like a balm to the soul. These are the relationships that make a real difference, that provide the emotional nourishment needed to thrive in later years. The focus becomes not on what has been lost, but on what remains, on the people who still show up with love, with care, with an open heart. This truth, though it can feel harsh and heartbreaking, is ultimately an invitation to authenticity. It beckons toward a kind of emotional freedom that only becomes possible when we fully accept that not all relationships need to be permanent to be meaningful. Life is ever-changing, and so are the people who accompany us along the way. But those who embrace this truth learn that the depth and quality of the relationships we cultivate in our later years far outweigh any sense of loss or nostalgia for the past. There is peace to be found in accepting that the circle of connection can grow smaller, but more intentional. And with this shift comes a deep sense of gratitude, for the friendships that endure, for the love that remains, and for the beauty of those rare, treasured moments spent with the people who truly make a difference in our lives. In the end, the richness of these few profound relationships brings a new peace, a contentment that no longer yearns for what is lost, but celebrates what is found in the space of authenticity and deep connection. The third truth, perhaps one of the most challenging to accept, is that the body no longer responds as it once did, and this reality requires a profound shift in how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Throughout much of life, people become accustomed to a certain level of physical autonomy. The ability to move freely, to act without hesitation, to push boundaries and test limits becomes second nature. For many, this sense of physical independence is so ingrained that it's easy to take it for granted, assuming it will always be there. However, as age advances, those once familiar abilities begin to wane, and limitations start to emerge that challenge even the most active and vibrant individuals. For many, the acceptance of this new reality is not simply difficult. It can feel like an ongoing, internal struggle. The body, once strong and capable, begins to impose its limitations, and no matter how hard the mind tries to deny or overcome them, the truth remains: we are not invincible. The frustration that comes with this realization runs deep, especially for those who once reveled in their strength and independence. The desire to maintain the same level of vitality, to keep pace with the energy and vigor of youth, often clashes with the body's increasing need for rest, gentleness, and care. This transition is not just physical, it's deeply emotional and psychological. It forces individuals to confront the impermanence of their own power and to come to terms with a new version of themselves, one that requires patience, compassion, and understanding. This new phase of life is not a sentence of decline, but a call for adaptation. It demands a different kind of respect for one's own body, one that shifts from resistance to acceptance. Instead of battling against the inevitable, trying to push the body beyond its limits to preserve the illusion of youth, the wisdom lies in learning to listen to what the body is asking for. This means acknowledging the changes, not with defeat, but with understanding. Accepting these physical limitations does not equate to surrendering or giving up. It is, in fact, a courageous act of self-awareness. It is about learning to live more consciously, to embrace a slower, more thoughtful pace, and to honor the body for what it has done rather than lament what it can no longer do. This process of acceptance opens up a whole new way of connecting with the body, a gentler, more compassionate relationship that prioritizes well-being, balance, and nourishment. The high-intensity activities that once defined our days may no longer be feasible, but this doesn't mean the end of living fully. In fact, it is an invitation to redirect energy and focus toward practices that nourish the body and soul in more sustainable ways. Quiet walks in nature, moments of meditation, or even new hobbies that the body can more easily embrace become sources of serenity and fulfillment. It's in these gentler pursuits that we can rediscover the beauty of stillness, the joy of simply being in our own skin, without the need for constant exertion or external validation. Far from being a defeat, this process of adjustment is, in fact, a triumph of understanding and self-compassion. It is a victory that arises from realizing that time is not something to fight against, but to understand. It is a victory that comes from recognizing that living fully is not about the quantity of activities we engage in, but the quality of the moments we experience. It is about savoring the quiet, finding peace in the simple pleasures, and discovering that even in the face of physical decline, life still offers deep, rich meaning. By accepting the changes in the body with grace and serenity, something incredibly precious is gained, a new perspective on what truly matters in life. The frantic race to prove ourselves, to maintain appearances, and to meet the expectations of others fades into the background, and in its place, we are able to appreciate the smaller, subtler aspects of existence. The sense of accomplishment that once came from external achievements is replaced with an internal peace, a contentment that is born not from physical strength or endurance, but from the quiet strength of the spirit. It is a strength that comes from within, from the acceptance of time's passage, and from the understanding that true vitality is found not in the body alone, but in the heart and mind that continue to evolve and grow. Though this truth may be painful at first, it ultimately brings with it an unexpected peace, a contentment that only those who walk this path can truly comprehend. This peace is not the peace of a body that remains young and unchanging, but the peace that comes from embracing the impermanence of life with grace, and from realizing that the strength of the body is only a small part of the vast reservoir of strength that resides within. For those who undertake this journey of acceptance, it is not just the body that transforms, but the soul itself, finding a deeper, more profound connection to life in all its beauty, fragility, and wonder. The fourth truth, perhaps one of the hardest to accept, is that social relevance changes with time, and this transformation can have a deeply emotional impact on one's sense of self. In youth and adulthood, people are often immersed in roles that make them feel needed and valued, whether in the workplace, within the family, or among friends. These roles provide a sense of purpose and identity, as we are constantly called upon to fulfill expectations and meet the needs of others. The need to be indispensable, to be someone others rely on, becomes woven into the fabric of our daily lives. However, as the years pass and we enter old age, that familiar sense of indispensability begins to fade. The roles we once played, whether as parents, leaders, or active contributors in our communities, slowly diminish, and the external validation that once came with these roles becomes less frequent. This shift can bring with it a deep sense of loss and emptiness. The world seems to move on, and we may find ourselves questioning our place within it. The feeling that we are no longer as important or relevant to those around us can feel like a quiet, insidious form of abandonment. The acknowledgement that we are no longer as central to the lives of others can stir up feelings of isolation and invisibility. Yet, this phase of life holds within it a unique and often unrecognized opportunity. It is the chance to redefine our sense of value and purpose, not based on societal roles or external expectations, but by reconnecting with the essence of who we are. It is an invitation to discover meaning within ourselves, rather than seeking it from the outside world. Without the weight of constant responsibility and the pressure to meet others' needs, many find that this is the time to pursue the passions, interests, and dreams they had once set aside for the sake of obligations. The things that were always pushed to the background, the art, the hobbies, the long-forgotten ambitions, now come to the forefront, offering a chance to reconnect with the person we may have left behind in the rush of daily life. This is a time of liberation, where the conventional measures of success no longer hold the same power over us. Instead of feeling like a loss of relevance, the freedom that comes with letting go of these external measures becomes an opening for new autonomy. It is a chance to live more fully on our own terms, without the relentless pressure to conform to the expectations of others. There is no longer the need to be anyone's constant provider, caretaker, or professional expert. We can step into a space where we are free to explore our own interests, free from the burden of validation or approval. This freedom, though it may come with its own challenges, is one that few people experience throughout their lives. It offers the gift of being able to finally live for oneself, to pursue what truly matters without the weight of other people's demands. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Though this truth can be painful to face, it also carries with it the promise of liberation. By relinquishing the need for external validation, we allow ourselves the space to explore our own desires, to spend time nurturing our inner world, and to cultivate a deep sense of self-worth that does not rely on being needed by others. It is a kind of freedom that few understand until they live it, the freedom to create a life defined not by what we do for others, but by who we are in the quiet moments of reflection and personal growth. For many, this transformation turns the weight of aging into something entirely different, a phase of discovery, renewal, and profound personal meaning. It is an opportunity to shed the burdens of societal expectations and instead embrace a new, more authentic way of being in the world. In this space, relevance becomes something self-defined, an internal truth that is not dependent on external validation. This is the freedom of self-realization, and for those who embrace it, it can be a phase of life that is filled with joy, peace, and fulfillment, as they step into a new chapter where they are finally free to be their true selves. The fifth truth that few are fully prepared to confront is the increasing value of time as we age, and with it, the growing urgency to seize every precious moment. In youth, time often feels like an endless stretch of possibilities, a vast expanse of days and years that seem to expand infinitely before us. With this abundance, it becomes easy to take time for granted. We postpone our dreams, put off important plans, and defer crucial moments, always believing that we have more time to accomplish everything we desire. We assume that the future will be just as filled with opportunities, that there will always be more chances to take action, make changes, and connect with others. The perception of time as an ever-flowing river, always moving forward but never truly running out, lulls us into complacency. However, as the years pass and age settles in, this perception of time shifts drastically. The future that once seemed so vast begins to feel more elusive, more distant, and the passing of time becomes more pronounced. Suddenly, each day, each moment, becomes more valuable than it once seemed. We start to feel the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, realization that we no longer have an endless supply of moments to live out our dreams or connect with others. The years ahead are no longer guaranteed, and time no longer feels like a luxury. The awareness that life is finite begins to weigh on the heart, bringing forth a silent urgency, a quiet whisper in the back of our minds reminding us that time is something to be cherished, something that cannot be taken for granted. This realization, though difficult to face, brings with it a profound shift in perspective. The urgency to make the most of the time we have left is not something to fear or resent. Rather, it becomes a source of motivation, a catalyst for living more fully and authentically. The pressures and distractions of youth, the obligations to others and to societal expectations, begin to fade into the background. What truly matters comes into sharp focus. The things that were once pushed aside, whether relationships, unfulfilled dreams, or personal passions, suddenly take on new importance. The awareness of finite time gives rise to a deeper appreciation for the present, urging us to stop waiting for the right time and instead, to embrace the now. The future is uncertain, and the past can never be revisited, so the only moment that truly exists is the one we are living in right now. For many, this realization is transformative. Instead of lamenting the things we can no longer do or the opportunities that have passed us by, there is a shift in focus toward what is still possible, what can still be accomplished, and what we can still experience. The urgency to act becomes less about accomplishing more and more about living with intention and presence. Priorities are recalibrated. The things that once seemed essential, success, approval, achievement, now take a back seat to deeper desires. The pursuit of true connection, the cultivation of meaningful relationships, the fulfillment of personal dreams that have been long neglected. Living with this newfound awareness of time allows us to let go of the frivolous, the unnecessary, and the superficial. We begin to value what is simple and beautiful, the fleeting moments that might have been overlooked in earlier years. The quiet morning walks, the laughter shared with friends and family, the deep conversations, the time spent nurturing a hobby, or simply being present in the moment. These moments, once thought of as ordinary, now become extraordinary, filled with depth and meaning. The pressure to chase after external achievements gives way to an understanding that true fulfillment lies not in what we do, but in how we experience the world around us. Each day becomes an opportunity to live more intensely, to savor each interaction, and to find joy in the little things. The weight of time's passage can feel heavy at times, but it also offers us a unique gift, the chance to live with a kind of presence that youth rarely allows. There is no longer a rush to do everything or to prove anything. Instead, we begin to live in the moment, experiencing life with a depth that was once reserved for only the most profound experiences. This shift allows us to live with gratitude, not just for the things we have, but for the time we have left, knowing that each moment is an irreplaceable treasure. Living with the knowledge that time is precious brings a special kind of peace. The urgency that once felt like a burden begins to feel like a blessing, a gentle reminder that the present is all we truly have. Time becomes more than a ticking clock or an inevitable march toward the end. It transforms into something to be savored, a gift that must be cherished. The sense of urgency no longer feels like pressure, but rather an invitation to live life more fully, more intentionally, with a deep awareness of the beauty in the here and now. For many, this transformation of time from a resource to be used up into a precious gift creates a new relationship with life itself. Every little moment becomes something grand, something to be valued and appreciated in ways that we could not have done before. Each interaction, each shared smile, each quiet moment of reflection becomes a manifestation of the richness of life. The urgency to live is no longer about filling our days with activities, but about filling our hearts with meaning and our lives with purpose. In old age, time is no longer something that is simply passing by. It becomes something to embrace, to live fully within. The quality of each moment becomes more important than the quantity of moments remaining. Life, in all its complexities and fleeting nature, becomes a precious tapestry, woven together by the threads of love, connection, and self-awareness. In this phase of life, time is experienced with a profound sense of meaning and depth that only those who fully understand the brevity of life can truly appreciate. What once seemed like a burden is now a source of liberation and gratitude, as we realize that each moment, no matter how small, is a chance to live life in the fullest, most authentic way possible. The sixth truth, perhaps one of the most challenging to embrace, is that people are not always ready or able to reciprocate the same level of care and attention that they have received, especially in the later stages of life. For many, as they age, a quiet expectation arises that those they have cared for, guided, and supported throughout their lives will, in turn, offer the same affection, presence, and care when they themselves need it most. After all, it feels only natural to hope that the love and devotion we have poured into relationships over the years will come back to us in our time of need. Yet, the reality of aging often reveals a harsh truth. Many find themselves disappointed when those who have benefited from their care and attention do not offer the same in return. This truth can be deeply painful and emotionally overwhelming. It stirs feelings of betrayal, loneliness, and frustration. The relationships that once seemed so solid, built on years of mutual support, now appear fragile and one-sided. The unspoken hope that those we have given so much to will step forward and offer the same care we gave them can feel like an unfulfilled promise, leaving us to confront the vulnerability of our own human limitations. In these moments, it is easy to feel unappreciated, as though all the love and effort we invested have been wasted or taken for granted. Yet, this difficult realization is also an important lesson in understanding the nature of human connections and the boundaries of reciprocity. Not all love, no matter how deeply it is given, is returned with the same intensity or in the same form. This can be an incredibly hard pill to swallow, especially after a lifetime of nurturing and giving. But learning to accept that people can only give back what they are capable of offering, whether because of their own limitations, circumstances, or emotional capacity, is a transformative shift. It is a profound invitation to let go of expectations and detach from the idea that love and care must always be reciprocated in equal measure. In fact, it invites us to understand that the true value of what we give lies not in what we receive in return, but in the generosity with which we offer it. When we begin to shift our focus from the need for reciprocity to the beauty of unconditional giving, a new sense of freedom arises. The bonds we form are no longer weighed down by the burden of expectations, and the act of loving becomes its own reward. We come to understand that love, care, and attention are expressions of who we are, not merely transactions designed to ensure an equal exchange. This understanding brings a deeper sense of peace and emotional lightness. We begin to realize that the quality of our relationships is not determined by how much others return to us, but by the sincerity and authenticity with which we give. This truth can be a liberating one, as it frees us from the emotional dependency on others' responses. Instead of waiting for others to mirror our efforts or to validate our love, we learn to offer affection freely and joyfully, not as a means of securing something in return, but as an expression of gratitude for the people and moments that have enriched our lives. In this way, we come to see love not as a bargaining chip, but as a precious, self-sustaining act. We learn that by giving with an open heart, without expecting anything in return, we are not diminished but rather enriched in ways that go beyond material or emotional exchange. This shift in perspective transforms how we experience relationships. We no longer hold others accountable for meeting our emotional needs in the exact ways we expect. Instead, we embrace the fluidity of human connections, understanding that love and care can take many forms, often unpredictable and imperfect. The joy of loving becomes its own reward, and the fulfillment we seek is no longer contingent on how others respond, but in the very act of giving itself. This realization brings with it a sense of freedom from expectations, freedom from disappointment, and freedom to live and love more fully. It is a freedom that empowers us to offer our love unconditionally, with grace and peace, regardless of how it is returned. And in doing so, we discover a deeper, more profound sense of connection to ourselves and to others. One that is rooted not in what we receive, but in the profound act of giving from the heart. The seventh truth, which few are ready to face, is that forgiveness becomes an almost inevitable need in old age. Over a lifetime, we accumulate grievances, disappointments, and resentments, whether with friends, family, or even ourselves. And although these feelings may have served as a shield over the years, with time, we begin to feel the weight they carry and how it starts to limit our inner peace. There comes a moment when these emotional burdens become unbearable, and forgiveness becomes the only way to truly find serenity. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. This need for forgiveness is not about accepting injustice or forgetting deep wounds, but about freeing ourselves from the impact these memories still have on our present lives. In old age, Each stored resentment seems to occupy a precious space that could be dedicated to moments of joy, tranquility, and reconciliation. Forgiving is an act of compassion for oneself, a way to lighten the emotional load and enjoy what is left of life with lightness and fullness. It is a process that requires courage, but also brings a peace that only those who allow themselves to forgive can truly understand. This truth is liberating because it transforms our perspective on the past, allowing it to remain where it belongs, behind us. By forgiving, the elderly realize that forgiveness benefits not only the person forgiven, but primarily the one who forgives, freeing the mind and heart to live the present with more serenity. With this attitude, life becomes less about what could have been and more about what still can be, opening space for each day to be lived with renewed joy, free from the shackles of the past. The eighth truth, which many men are often reluctant to confront, is that, as the years pass, the male body undergoes inevitable physical changes that deeply impact sexual health and functionality. The natural aging process brings about reductions in elasticity, blood flow, and hormonal levels, particularly testosterone. These shifts not only affect the physical appearance of the body but also influence sensitivity, sexual response, and overall vitality. The realization that the body no longer performs in the same way it did in youth can bring feelings of frustration, insecurity, or even shame. However, these transformations are an essential part of the natural cycle of life, and they do not need to be feared or hidden away. Rather than resisting these changes, embracing them as part of the aging process can lead to a healthier, more positive relationship with one's sexuality. For many men, older age offers a chance to redefine what it means to experience intimacy and pleasure. The focus may shift from performance and physical prowess to emotional connection, affection, and mutual understanding. Sexuality in later years can take on a richer, more nuanced dimension, one that places greater emphasis on the bond between partners than on mere physical ability. This is a time when intimacy is less about meeting external standards and more about exploring new forms of satisfaction, whether through gentle touch, deep conversations, or tender gestures that strengthen the emotional connection between partners. When men accept and adapt to the physical changes of aging, they often discover that pleasure is not confined to the physical realm alone. Instead, it becomes intertwined with emotional fulfillment, tenderness, and affection. These new forms of intimacy allow for greater peace of mind and satisfaction, enabling men to experience a fulfilling and meaningful sexual life without the pressure to conform to unrealistic expectations. In fact, the maturity and experience gained over the years can enhance the quality of intimacy, bringing a depth of connection that can be even more fulfilling than the passion of youth. Understanding and accepting these changes also brings a sense of self-assurance. By letting go of any shame or embarrassment about the physical transformations that accompany aging, men are freed to explore and enjoy intimacy in a way that feels natural and authentic. There is no longer the need to measure up to past standards or to compete with younger versions of themselves. Instead, there is a newfound appreciation for the ways in which love and intimacy evolve over time, where the deeper connections formed through emotional vulnerability and understanding take precedence over physical performance. These 8 truths about aging offer a gateway to a new way of experiencing this stage of life, not as a decline, but as an opportunity for growth, acceptance, and transformation. Facing these truths may initially seem difficult, even overwhelming, but by embracing them, we open ourselves up to a more fulfilling and meaningful life, one where authenticity, inner peace, and wisdom guide our journey. Rather than seeing aging as an ending, we can view it as a time to reflect, reassess, and reframe our experiences, finding purpose and joy in the present moment. Each of these hard truths offers us a chance to live with greater ease, to appreciate what we have, and to focus on what truly matters. If you identified with these truths or know someone who could benefit from this reflection, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here you will find content that provides valuable insights for every stage of life, encouraging growth, mindfulness, and the search for inner peace. Stay tuned for future videos and continue this journey of learning and transformation with us. So, what have you learned so far? How has your perspective on loneliness, relationships, and aging shifted after watching this video? I encourage you to comment below with one insight you'll carry forward into your life and put into practice. If you enjoyed this video and found value in it, please leave your comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content designed to help you live a more fulfilling, meaningful life in your golden years. Thank you for watching, and remember, your most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. Embrace it!